If your HDMI is not working on your TV, or your HDMI has just got no signal on your TV, then there's a few possible solutions you can run through that will hopefully fix it for you. HDMI problems are usually caused by setup problems, by a software glitch, or by a problem between the device you're connecting to your TV and the TV's HDMI software itself. So these fixes apply whatever model or manufacturer of TV you have, whether it's a Samsung, an LG, or a Roku TV. And first of all, it's best just to try a soft reset of your TV. So that will clear out any flash memory and any temporary files held in your TV, and this can often fix any software glitches that are causing your HDMI to not work. So all you have to do is unplug your TV, hold down the power button for about 10 seconds, then wait for a couple of minutes for any power to drain from your TV, then plug it in and try switching it on again. Although it's a pretty basic step, it often does fix HDMI issues. If you've still got a problem, then just remove all of your HDMI ports from the back of your TV and from your devices, and just check that the cable itself is in good condition, so that there's no bent pins, there's no damage to the connectors or to the cables, and that there's no breaks in the cable anywhere where it's been tied perhaps and pulled tight. You can try just blowing on the ports and just try to clear any dust or dirt out of the ports, so that you know that the pins on the cable are making a good connection with the HDMI ports on your TV and on your device. It's also a good idea just to try connecting your device into a different HDMI port, particularly if it's located elsewhere on your TV, because TVs often have HDMI ports in different locations on the TV, so some on the back and some on the side, and they have separate connections to your TV's main board. So if it's an internal problem with your TV that's causing the HDMI no signal issues, then plug it into a different HDMI port located somewhere else on your TV can potentially fix the problem. You also need to make sure that you're using the correct specification of HDMI cable, both for your TV and particularly for the device you are plugging into your TV. So most recent TVs support HDMI 2.1, which is backwards compatible with older HDMI specifications. But there is a possibility if you're trying to plug an HDMI 2.1 device into your TV, which does not support HDMI 2.1 itself, then there's a possibility that the mismatch between your device and your TV is causing the HDMI problem. So in this case, just try changing the settings of your connected device, and you can just try using a different HDMI cable. If you're using ARC on your TV, then you need to make sure you're using at least an HDMI 1.4 specification cable, which you almost certainly do have. And you also need to make sure that your HDMI cable is connected into the ARC port on your TV, which will be listed next to the port itself. You'll also need to make sure to enable ARC on your TV, so that varies depending on model. But for most TVs, you'll find it under the sound settings, and then just check that the audio output is set for ARC. Some models of TV, particularly Samsungs and LGs, have HDMI testing within the user settings menu. So in Samsung, for example, it's in the self-diagnosis, and then you can just check whether the HDMI port is working properly, whether the cable is properly connected, using the HDMI self-test. So have a look if your TV has got that, and that will give you some tips on whether your HDMI port is working properly, whether the cable is properly connected, and whether the cable can support the HDMI specification that the TV is using to connect with your device. If none of that has helped, then just try factory resetting your TV, which will remove all your personalizations and all your accounts, but it's a good final step to check before looking into any hardware problems with your TV or device. If you've still got HDMI problems after hard resetting your TV, then you need to just try and determine whether the problem is with your device or the TV itself. So first of all, just try plugging a different device into the same HDMI port on your TV and seeing if you can get it to work. If your new device works in the same HDMI port as the other device that does not work, then you can assume that the problem is with the device itself rather than with your TV, and you should try and change the settings within your separate device or just factory reset your other device if you're able to. If you consistently have problems with one HDMI port, but your other HDMI ports are working, so if you plug one device into HDMI port 1 and it doesn't work, but you plug it into HDMI port 2 and it does work, then assuming this isn't a problem with ARC, so assuming one of the ports isn't an ARC port and the other one isn't, then it's likely that the cable connecting the HDMI port to your TV's main board has just come loose. And if you feel confident, you can just open up your TV and reconnect the cables. If you have problems where all of your HDMI ports do not work with any devices at all, then it's likely to be a fault within the TV itself. So it's most likely to be a software fault, which factory resetting should solve. But if it doesn't solve it, and you've made sure you've got your TV software up to date, then there's probably some fault within the TV's main board itself. You can replace the main board quite easily, depending on how old your TV is. Older TVs particularly, it's very cheap to replace the TV's main board. But it's a good idea just first of all just to open up your TV and just check that the HDMI connections to your main board are properly connected and there's no damage to them. And then after that, if you've tried all the steps to get your HDMI working and it's not working at all, then you can just replace your main board by searching for a similar model off eBay and taking your TV apart and then just putting the new main board in.